Welcome everybody, I'm Malone with LRM Online, and this is LRM Ranks. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be ranking superhero origin movies. I'm joined today by none other than Nick Doll. Nick, say what's up.
Hey, what's up?
So you guys have been following along for the last couple of weeks where we've been ranking different things. Sometimes we're ranking an entire franchise. Sometimes we're ranking movies that have similarities or some sort of connective tissue. And we wanted to do superhero origins. You know, it's a thing. You know, every superhero had to have a starting point at some time or another. And going all the way back to, you could go to the Batman and Superman serials. Of course, the Superman movies, 70s. You got the Batman movie in the 80s, going into the 90s. Spider-Man and Spider-Man was early 2000, but either way, you get into your X-Men and your Spider-Man, and eventually get into the Dark Knight trilogy and your Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that Green Lantern movie, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of superhero origin films out there. Nick, what do you think just in general about origin films?
It's kind of funny. It really depends for me. Like, I get really excited for them. It depends on the character. That's the best way to put it. Sometimes I'm really excited for the origin of a character, like Captain Marvel. I can't wait to watch the origin film. Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, like those are cool ones that should be origin films. And then other times I'm kind of like, maybe we should have skipped that first movie and just gone straight. Like, maybe Venom didn't need to be an origin film. Maybe he could just, like, maybe you didn't need any, I don't know. You could just maybe jumped into a Venom story and even explained it later. Everyone gets it. So, and sometimes I'm more excited for the sequel because I'm like, oh, the origin stuff's out of the way, which was the case with Deadpool.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually, I don't know, half the time they're my favorite one of the franchise, and then half the time I'm just like, get to the sequel. So,
so let me tell you guys a little bit about what our criteria was for this video. It had to be focused on the individual hero. That doesn't mean that there couldn't be other aspects of the movie that influenced your choice, but the hero had to be the focus of the story. So no team, so there's no X-Men, no Avengers. It couldn't be any type of duology. And it's, for me, I personally went with movies that I enjoyed the most that told the origin. Not necessarily the best filmed or the best written, but what I enjoyed the most. Nick, how did you approach your list?
I mean, mine's kind of a mix of both. It is, I would say these are my top 5. These are the first 5 origin films I'd watch, in the order I'd watch them. So, but, like, my tastes are influenced by enjoyable and quality, so a bit of both, again.
Now, I had a hard time, not going to lie, I had a hard time keeping my list from being almost all MCU. Nick, how many MCU movies did you kind of negotiate with in your brain when making this list?
I kept it in mind when making the list. Even though these are still probably the top 5 I've go to, 1 or 2 I could be switched out with something else, but I have 2 MCU films in the end. That's all.
Good. Hey, look, Marvel's put out what, 21 films in 10 years, give or take one.
I'm not quite sure. 7 or 8 origins.
Yeah, 7 or 8 origin films. So it's really hard, and they really they set the tone for how to do origins. And then when you look at movies like Spider-Man: Homecoming, which technically we couldn't include on this list, it's not really an origin film. He's already been Spider-Man for a while. He touches on his origin, but his origin is not a focus of the story. But they kind of started doing that, and that makes me really wonder how Captain Marvel's going to be. From the look at the trailers, it looks like she's going to already be powered and doing stuff, and we're going to kind of have touchstones and flashbacks maybe to tell us how she got to where she is. I'm really interested in that movie and exactly how they're going to introduce her to the MCU. Any words? I know you mentioned Captain Marvel earlier. Anything you want to say about that before we get into our list?
Well, I mean, based on the trailer, it looks like it'll be her remembering stuff maybe, or they're wiping stuff, or they're giving her, like, there's that one scene where her mind's being messed up with, and it reminds me of Winter Soldier with alien tech. But, I mean, I think it could almost be a Memento type, Batman Begins type origin thing with Captain Marvel. Because I would like to see her origin, as I mentioned earlier. That's a character whose origin I wouldn't mind spending like 30, maybe if we're doing it in flashbacks, 15 minutes visiting.
Right.
So, yeah.
Cool, cool. Well, let's go ahead and get started. And because I'm such a gracious host and so humble, and I have not a single egotistical bone in my body, Nick, I'll go ahead and let you start first. Give me your number 5 origin film.
Thank you, sir. My number 5, I ended up going with Black Panther.
Ooh, nice choice. Never do that again.
I'll throw it after all my titles. I was just more of a Jeff Goldblum.
I got it.
I'll keep going until it's not funny. That was the rule of 3s right there. I did it 3 times. Black Panther, we discussed this and we decided it would count as an origin film.
Yes.
Because part of him becoming Black Panther for real is defeating Mabuku.
Yes, that whole tournament thing that he had to go through.
And, but I really didn't pick, most of these I actually picked because the origin itself is, a big part of the story and great. That's not actually my favorite part about Black Panther. I think the cast is perhaps the best Marvel cast, even better than, even better than Infinity War maybe, because Michael B. Jordan is probably my second favorite villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and his performance is just so strong. And in a way, it's hard to compare it to Thanos because he's delivering it without any, Josh Brolin almost still has an impediment because he is behind. You always look at Thanos, no matter how realistic he is, and you're kind of he's not real. And you look at Michael B. Jordan in the makeup and stuff, and you're like, God, that guy's scary. Yeah. Just his origin's almost more fascinating than Black Panther's origin. I know we're not picking these based on villain origins,
right?
But his makes me cry more than I cry at movies. Okay, I do that. It's cathartic. But Killmonger's backstory makes me cry more than Black Panther's. But I don't know. It's just a solid movie. I know it's recent, but I think it's one of the best written, best directed, best acted, MCU movies as a whole. It's a top 5 MCU movie for me, I think. Okay. Maybe not if you check my ranking. I don't know.
Your ranking changes as everybody knows. Nick does Breaking Geek here on LRMonline.com. I'm going to plug this website enough, right, Jammer? I'm looking for that, just saying. But Nick does Breaking Geek, and I know every time Breaking Geek, Jesus, I can't talk. But I know you update your list every time a new MCU movie comes out, right?
Yeah. I mean, It's just, if I were to write a top 100 movies, I'm sure that would change every year. Not just adding stuff, but just you feel differently about a movie. Or even with the MCU, there's more context, maybe. Captain America just shot up my list last time, First Avenger, even though it's not my favorite quality movie, because it adds more, Infinity War gives you even more of that pull of the whole story of I don't like bullies, I don't care where they're from. Using that line from the first movie, or the whole I forgot what he says about giving up.
Never giving up, basically. Yeah. I can do this all day.
I can do this. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I love that I can do this all day. I know it's in Civil War and not Avengers Infinity War, but the bully line is he could be talking about Hitler or he could be talking about Thanos. That's Cap. So
yep.
That's how my list kind of changes.
So Black Panther, man, he did not make it onto my list. It was a big debate internally with it. I kind of had a feeling that you were going to put it on your list. And that's not to take anything away from the movie, that it's not on my list. It is a great film. I agree with you on Killmonger 100%. I actually wish they had managed to give him, I'd say, about 15 more minutes of screen time. And Killmonger could possibly be the best villain in the MCU.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely feel there was some parts in his origin, some parts there in the middle that definitely needed to be expanded on a little bit. Panther, yes, he's wearing the suit in Civil War, but the way they explain that, the way I understand, is his father had said, hey, I'm too old to wear the suit, so you'd be the Panther, I'll still be king, and you kind of act like my bodyguard, my enforcer. So he really wasn't the Black Panther until after until after his movie Black Panther. Sorry about that, guys. Every now and then I get a brain fart.
Plus, I mean, comparing that to Homecoming again, it's Homecoming doesn't even bother to brush it. This gives us the history of Wakanda, backstory about his father. So it truly is an origin.
Yes,
film for him.
Absolutely, and it's a great story. It's well acted. It is an amazing film. And so yeah, definitely good job, man. I can completely agree that Black Panther is a top tier origin movie. My number 5 is a little bit different. Like I said, I approach these as what I enjoyed, not necessarily the best made movie. Just kind of like, you know, if I'm watching an origin movie, what I want to watch, and I went with, don't hate me, I went with Deadpool. No? Nothing being thrown at the screen? Okay, cool. Deadpool is a great movie. Look, it's funny. It makes up for the atrocious attempt at Deadpool in X-Men Origins Wolverine. It is a great origin tale. You got your hero, what makes him a hero, what his quest is. He kind of goes through the whole hero's quest. There's a love interest, there's personal interest, there's a sidekick. All your stereotypical needs for an origin film are there in Deadpool. In addition to that, we got really our first true mature superhero movie. And yeah, Deadpool is definitely not your classic superhero, the righteous guy, but he is a superhero, and it was a blast of a movie. And when I went and saw it in theaters, me and my buddy Brian, shout out to him because I can. It's my video series. What of it? No, I'm joking. But me and him sat down in the theaters, and like 3 or 4 seats next to us was a family. There was a dad, a mom, a teenage kid, and a kid that definitely looked prepubescent. And we were just in the back of our brains thinking, what in the hell is this kid doing in this movie? And sure enough, there was a point where the mom was like trying to get the little kid's eyes covered because of what was going on screen. It was hilarious to me, both that going on over there and what was going on screen. But Daredevil, I've been watching Daredevil, by the way. Deadpool was it was a fun movie. It hit all the marks for a great origin film. What do you think about Deadpool, Nick?
It's a super entertaining movie, and I think all of the rewatchability in that movie, though, is the humor, not the story or the action.
Absolutely.
The humor in the action, because, like, it reminds me of I don't know, I'm not saying anyone who does this, they're not imitating Nolan, but they're kind of doing a similar jump back and forth thing. And the reason I say they're not even imitating Nolan is it feels like they're using it as a way to make the plot more interesting, and it helps break up the origin, thank God, because Deadpool's origin is so similar to a lot of other
absolutely
X-Men type characters, or even and maybe even a little lazier, except for the cancer element. Especially since they never call it Weapon X. I always thought he was part of Weapon X.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even call it that in the movie.
Nope.
Which is a missed opportunity since it is all X-Men. I mean,
I think they were just really trying to separate it from the garbage that is the X-Men movies.
Yeah. But it just so it feels like it was not exactly a crutch, but they used the origin to like make a very simple linear story more interesting, and vice versa, because there's not really much plot there. So I like it. It's a great movie. It just wouldn't be. That's one of the ones where I said I couldn't wait to get to Deadpool 2 after seeing it, because I was like, this has so much potential for just a linear superhero story with like big scale, like what we got with like Deadpool versus Cable and a big car chase, and like when they get a real budget. And I was like, I love Deadpool, but this is a sequel.
Right. No, absolutely get it. And like I said, that's why I approached him as just kind of like, what am I enjoying here? You know, what is, when I'm looking at my collection of Blu-ray and DVDs, and I'm looking at all the first movies, which one is most entertaining to me? And entertainment is a combination of what makes me laugh or what makes me feel, as well as what makes me think. Sometimes I really just want to laugh. Sometimes I really want to think. Know what I'm saying?
I would say by those standards, when you asked me earlier if I was judging on entertainment only, I would say yes. Like I said, these are the top 5 I would watch.
Yes, absolutely. So no judging, period. Do you understand me?
Opinions, man. Don't at me. No, please at me. At LRM_Nick.
yes, and at that Kyle Malone. Yeah,
Plug.
that's me. Plugging. It's great. It's not shameless.
Nah.
Shameful. Anyways.
I'm shameless.
So let's go ahead and continue on to our number 4. I'll let you start. Again, the gracious, non-egotistical, completely humble Kyle Malone, letting Nick go with number 4.
Again, thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm honored. I'd have Captain America, the first Avenger, which is something that probably wouldn't have made my list even last year. But like I said, Infinity War added even more context. It's not one of my. It's a movie I don't think is that good, but it's super entertaining. Like when I watched it originally, I was really disappointed. I mean, like I loved it. It made Cap my favorite comic character that he is today. That movie alone, Winter Soldier may be my favorite MCU movie, but even the first one, I was like, Captain America is more interested than Iron Man. What kind of world is this where people don't see that? And now I like that they're kind of almost equally big, as much as two characters could be. As far as you see, Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. always posting pictures of each other like together and stuff. But I was disappointed at first because from my comic experience, I'd mostly read a comic line that was his World War II adventures. It was like a current book. I think it was called Captain America and Bucky or something. But it was like the arc I was reading was actually World War II stuff, not modern day stuff. And I always thought that was the interesting Captain America stuff, not being that knowledgeable. So I was like, oh, they used up. I know they need to get him to the Avengers, but I wish they had left space to set his movies back then. Mm-hmm. Was my initial complaint. I'm like, because I love World War II. Because I love Raiders of the Lost Ark. And it's very Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's trying to be Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like, Joe Johnson did it. Ooh, The Rocketeer is another beautiful, like, period piece. Oh, I should have thought of that. But it wouldn't be a top 5 movie.
That was kind of rough.
It's not that good of a movie, but it's very, nostalgic
I get what you mean.
movie.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not good, though. But, I mean, Cap, that last script polish by Joss Whedon is, like, everything. Like, that's where, like, I can do this all day. Like, all those just keep, like, the origin itself is the best part of that movie. The rest of it's, like, World War II montages until the great finale. Like, there aren't really a lot of full action scenes, but the, like, 30 to 40 minutes they take with that origin and skinny Steve Rogers is just so damn charming the way it's written that I love it.
They really needed to shrink his head a little bit because that's like I'm okay with the body shrinkage part, but his head just his head and voice don't match.
I watched Ant-Man and the Wasp commentary yesterday, and they didn't talk about that moment, but they were talking about when they shrunk. Have you seen it?
The movie or the commentary?
The movie.
Yes, I've seen the movie.
Okay, when he's like high school,
yes,
kindergarten size.
Yeah,
they're like that's why we gave him the hoodie because like kids have a larger head.
Yes,
like and he's obviously proportionally still an adult man.
Yes,
and just now you mentioning the Cap thing makes me think of that where it's like they should have done something with that head. They just made it like skinnier, so it's like way too tall for a person that size.
Yep. Now, no joke, I fought with Captain America the First Avenger. Look, it does by far completely waste the Red Skull in that movie. But
I feel like they wasted all the World War II storylines at once.
Yeah,
that's why.
I honestly think, look, Captain America, Iron Man, and Doc Strange are always in battle in my mind for the best MCU portrayal of a superhero. They really are. And
I would agree with those three.
Yeah, sometimes Cap's on top, sometimes it's Doc Strange, sometimes it's Tony Stark. Either way, I did struggle putting that movie on my list or not, and in the end, I went with another movie that I think somebody has had a really good introduction. Not necessarily a great movie, but a really good introduction. So Cap didn't make it to mine. But I do love the first Avenger for what it was, and it has nothing to do with Red Skull. It has everything to do with Chris Evans as Captain America, as Steve Rogers.
And Bucky.
Bucky.
Yep. It really works better in the later movies, but that's a friendship that makes that moment in Infinity War so much more powerful.
Yes.
You're like, I've been watching these guys for 3 movies.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, 4 movies, all 3 Caps plus Infinity War.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but Bucky's barely in Infinity War before he eats it. It's all about if you haven't seen the other Cap movies, you wouldn't feel it all for Bucky. He has 3 lines of dialogue, including hugging Cap.
I could see that.
Oh no, he does have the best battle moment in the entire movie.
It is
holding Rocket and spinning in a circle.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Get that arm.
So great number 4 picnic. My number 4, we're breaking away from traditional superheroes, and I think me and you might have this movie on our list together. I'm not sure where you put it. Unbreakable.
Thief.
Yes. Look, you did. I'll give Nick the credit. You're the one that planted that seed in my mind, and I was sitting there, I was thinking, you know what? You're right. That is actually a really really good superhero origin film. So I had to consider it, because traditionally I was looking at DC movies and Marvel movies. That's all
I was trying to step out of that.
And you did. You planted that seed in my mind, and I did decide that yes, indeed, David is absolutely a character that has a complete origin. He kind of sort of goes through the hero's trial to a degree. But really, I will say this. Split and looking at Glass informs the decision to add Unbreakable. Unbreakable on its own is such an amazingly great and entertaining movie. It's dark. It's different. It's like I said, it's completely different than any other superhero movie out there. But once you look at the bigger world that's been built around it, you can kind of appreciate more what he did. However, that being said, I did look at it simply from how many times have I seen Unbreakable, and if somebody's like, I want to watch this movie, am I willing to watch it? Yes, absolutely. Any day, anytime you say, I want to watch Unbreakable, I'm with you. Let's watch it. It's a great movie. It is one of Shyamalan's best, and I absolutely love the atmosphere. Not only that, and I don't want to steal too much of your thunder, Nick, because I think you're going to talk a little bit more about this if and when it gets to on your list. Spoilers, maybe?
Who knows? Maybe.
Maybe. But yes, the villain in that movie is definitely a major part of my enjoyment of the film. But that goes to a lot of superhero films. Like I said, I chose...
Black Panther.
Exactly. I chose mine based on enjoyability, not any specific function of it. But villains definitely can make or break a movie. You look at Captain America, the first Avenger, and the villain sucks. You look at Ant-Man, the villain sucks. They might be good movies, but the villain sucks, and that can make or break a movie. And Unbreakable had a great villain.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I will talk about Unbreakable later, but okay. I forgot what. Well, it's interesting that our villain here is one of the greatest, most important people in the MCU, but. That's movies, baby. Sometimes I forget Samuel L. Jackson is the same person when he's in different stuff, like stuff that different.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously it's him, but he's been those characters for so long for me. It's like, oh yeah, those are the two of the same guy. Acting is a career.
So since you're gonna have a little bit more to say on that in the future, let's go ahead and go into your number 3.
This one could have been one of two movies. And I went one way. It was either going to be Iron Man or Spider-Man. Because essentially they're the same movie. And I guess in the end, part of the reason I subconsciously went with Spider-Man as my number 3 is because it has a better villain than Iron Man, like you were talking about. Because they are 6 years apart. They are 6 years apart.
Yeah. God, did Spider-Man really come out in 2002?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh, God.
2002, May 4th, I believe.
I feel so old.
Yeah, I feel old too. I was in middle school.
I got a few years on you. I got a few years on you.
But yeah, I talked about Spider-Man before, about how great it is. I mean, I don't know how much I should recap what I said before, but I mean,
I don't know, but I will say, click right here, and you might be able to watch me and Nick rank the Spider-Man movies, right around here, somewhere. Yeah, right there.
One of those directions. I don't know what corner I'm in. No, I'm kidding. I mean, it's just it was a life-defining movie for me. I talked about that last time. I love Iron Man also, but I do feel like I watched Iron Man and was like, wow, this is the beginning of something new. But at the same time, I was like, but that's basically Spider-Man. And then it's kind of the same thing when you go to Ant-Man, Doctor Strange and stuff. It's like, that was different, but yet it feels very familiar to the origin films I've been shown before. As opposed to like Cap or Thor, where it's really untraditional. It's not like science experiment or suit adventure, like learning to use powers and suit. Like first encounter with the villain, second encounter with the villain, finale. Like that Spider-Man, Iron Man gets twisty with the villain. And in the end, it's a great actor who's playing him. But it's just, I don't know. Like, I need my... I still am a sucker for Willem Dafoe. Best villain in any superhero movie. Even with the cheesy suit and being cheesy and eating all the scenery. Not just chewing it, but eating it.
Eating it alive. I agree with you 100%. Willem Dafoe is amazing. I struggled with not putting Spider-Man on my list. I really did. And he's not. I'll be forward with that.
I assume Iron Man is.
Maybe not. I don't know. What's over there? I don't know. Some other stuff. No, Spider-Man. Oh, yeah. Spider-Man was a great movie. It really informed society what superhero movies could be. Everybody likes to point to the X-Men movies as like this genesis of the modern superhero films, but I actually give it to Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. To me, X-Men was an action-adventure film that just so happened to have superheroes, comic book characters in it. The black clad leather, the lack of the...
They weren't treated like the superhero.
No,
they weren't treated like comic characters. They were a gritty adaptation. Like
they were afraid to embrace the source material. They really were, except for some of the powers and some of the character aspects. And
honestly, compared to the MCU, Spider-Man is a way more realistic, less comic booky experience than like modern day MCU, or even beginning the MCU. Yeah, because Captain America's suit is far more ridiculous. The Spider-Man suit is toned, and like, I know you don't like it, but they added the raised stuff because like,
yeah,
it's a movie. Let's show what it really looks like, and it's given like the almost angry eyes. So like, it's still like trying to, and the villains either look completely cheesy because they're trying to make the suit make sense, or it doesn't. And Goblin's choice, or they're way too realistic. Doc Ock is just great. But
yeah, definitely, and go ahead and watch a few minutes ago somewhere over here we put a link, right around there. Go watch that. But we're not greedy for views, I swear to God. But no,
we just count
them. Spider-Man is great. I didn't put it on my list simply because to me they don't age as well. They don't. And look,
Iron Man ages better.
I'm spoiled by the riches of the MCU. I'll admit it. Spoiled by it. Marvel, Kevin Feige and company have done something astounding with their properties, and we're spoiled by it. We judge almost every single superhero movie based off of stuff like Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers, especially looking at recent ones like Black Panther, Doc Strange, and Avengers Infinity War. It's like, how do you compare to that? I completely agree that Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man attempt was a reach to bring the real world and the source material together, and they did it better than X-Men did. He embraced this guy got bit by a spider, he has a spandex suit, and he fights a guy on a glider wearing green. He embraced it, but he tried to make it look realistic. You know, how would these people do it in real life? I got that, and that's cool. I appreciate it. I do think that Sam Raimi's Spider-Man generated what became the MCU more so than X-Men did. Mostly because I really hated X-Men 3.
I think it generated that entire, like, the entire movement, it's not literally a movement, but like all the like this era we're in right now was Spider-Man setting that opening weekend record and bringing it super. I don't think we would have even seen another Batman movie as quickly if it wasn't for Spider-Man, because Batman did, like, they gave it to Nolan, who was almost unexperienced because just Batman Robin was so bad it killed it.
Yeah,
it killed it killed the DC era.
I can kind of see where Nolan approached Batman the same way that Raimi approached Spider-Man, as far as like, how do we bring these two worlds, comic and reality, together? Of course, Spider-Man's a completely different character than Batman, but do you agree that they both kind of had that approach of how do we bring these two worlds and reconcile them?
Oh yeah, I just think Nolan went way farther as far as blending reality than
I can see that, definitely. I mean, Spider-Man's running around with some dude that is clad in a Power Rangers outfit on a glider with pumpkin bombs that can evaporate some people but not other people depending on distance. That
I love that scene.
So Definitely. So let's get into my number 3. My number 3 is Doctor Strange.
Nice.
From the moment, so let me tell a story. I have some friends from high school, and a lot of the discussions we have here at LRM, me and my friends from high school, we had and still have to this day. And when Doctor Strange was rumored, the first thing we all did was cast. When you first heard about a Doctor Strange movie, do you remember who you thought would be good in that role?
Honestly, the only person I could think of was Robert Downey Jr. because of the facial hair. But I was like, but he's taken. I would have never guessed Stark. Benedict Cumberbatch, who's one of my favorite actors.
He is. He's great. Let me tell you who I originally wanted as Doctor Strange. I wanted Ewan McGregor.
Oh, I was gonna say Colin Farrell.
I would have killed for Ewan McGregor, and I will stand by that today.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
He would have made a great Stephen Strange. However, Benedict Cumberbatch came along, and he gave us not just a great, but an amazing, perfect Dr. Stephen Strange. And from the first moment I saw the trailer, I said, I want to see Strange and Stark talking at each other. Not together, at each other. I want them like cats. And I got it in Infinity War, and it was everything I dreamed it would be.
Isn't that great? It's like 2 Sherlocks also. And he's like, do you concur?
That's the
only... And it's like, oh my god.
That's the only thing missing was somebody in Infinity War going, no duh, Sherlock, and both of them like looking at the camera like, just like a sort
Tom Holland says it.
Yeah, like a sort of fourth wall break, but not quite. Oh, God, it would have been perfect.
Deadpool was in that movie. They'll make Deadpool edition of Infinity War when it's all owned by Disney.
Yes. So look, Doc Strange is one of those characters that I've always loved. He's got a great comic book, and I'll tell you what, God, it's been about 2 years now. Right after the last Secret Wars event in the comic books, Jeff Lemire, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, Jeff, but Jeff did such an amazing job with that character. I don't read a lot of Cape comic books. I really don't. I have a lot of like non-Marvel, non-DC books that I read, and Doc Strange was one of the best, and The Last Days of Magic is one of the coolest story arcs ever. So Jeff Lemire, I'm sorry about mispronouncing your name. Thank you so much for that. But the movie Doc Strange was perfect. It did a great job telling his origin. They kind of made him a little bit more relatable than he was in the comic books. Yes, he's arrogant, but you can actually empathize with Doc. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I didn't realize you couldn't in the comic, but that reminds me of Tony Stark.
Well, yeah.
Which I'll bring up in a second.
Yeah, he was. In the original comics, and you go back forever
Stark
ago.
is not empathetic in the comics going back like 10 years ago, but now he is.
Yes, and in my mind, Stephen Strange was not either. He was, I would even say he was more arrogant than Tony Stark. Really, I think he was. Stark was arrogant in the sense that I'm a billionaire, I'm rich, I'm smarter than you.
I'm brilliant, yeah.
Right. Strange was like, I play with life and death on a daily basis. What are you to me? I hold your life in my hands, and I'm the best doctor there ever was. And then he gets in the accident, and he's not the best doctor there ever was.
He's not even properly humbled. That's like part of his great character.
Exactly. And I think they humbled him a little bit in this movie, and he quickly becomes more malleable. But I loved it. His arc is great. His villain, it's like most MCUs, Caecilius and Dormammu are underdeveloped, but they really started developing Mordo. And we all know Doctor Strange's main nemesis, Dormammu and Mordo. And so I'm really looking forward to the unofficial sequel that we're getting to Doctor Strange, because they did such a great job with his origin. Doc Strange is one of those movies that my wife or my kid could be like, hey, you want to watch Doc Strange? I'm like, yes, absolutely. I don't care what else I'm doing. Let's watch Doctor Strange. I love his journey. I love the comedy. I love the drama. I love everything about it, and I especially love the costume. I'm not kidding you. I was afraid most of what Marvel would do with the costume. What do you think about his costume?
It's great. I love the part of his costume is alive. They did that. And like the cape, it's a nice heavy, because capes is where everything can go wrong. Like I would say, it's a nice heavy cloak, and yeah, I like the costume, and the color scheme's
Definitely.
nice, and the Eye of Agamotto. I like that they made it in Infinity Stone, even though it's not. In the
Yes. Yes, I do. I think that's one of those clever changes. Did you fear, like, I was really afraid about the Doctor Strange costume. Like, even though they had a pretty decent track record up to that point, I was afraid of it. Were you ever afraid that they might not do Doctor Strange justice, or did you have faith?
I don't think I've ever been afraid.
Okay.
And they've announced a character that Marvel wouldn't do it right.
I'm always afraid. I don't know why.
For some reason, I'm always way more worried about the actor than like I never thought for a second, what will Heath Ledger's Joker look like? I just remember Heath Ledger was announced, and I was like, he's in romantic comedies. This will never work. And then, you go back to people who are older than me, and it's like, yeah, we thought Michael Keaton wouldn't work because he was Mr. Mom. But, yeah, he's Batman. I'm like, he is Batman.
He was also Beetlejuice.
Batman's better than Beetlejuice. I'd watch Batman v Beetlejuice.
I would watch Batman v Beetlejuice as
Dawn
well.
of something. Or Dusk of...
Somebody online make that, animated or otherwise, Batman versus Beetlejuice, but both have to be the Michael Keaton versions, please.
Dusk of Justice.
Alrighty, Nick. So go ahead and tell us anything else you want to say on Doctor Strange?
You've almost talked me into putting it on my list. I don't know where it would go, but you're absolutely right. Like, Benedict Cumberbatch I think you mentioned it before we started recording, maybe, that he's top 3 of your heroes. Like, it kind of rotate. I think maybe you mentioned it on here. Yeah, like, my top 3 Marvel guys are the same. Like, Doctor Strange, I love Benedict Cumberbatch. It's another... Here are the 2 biggest weaknesses of the film, told by others. Neither of them bother me. He's too close to Stark. The origin overall end to him. He's an asshole who gets wounded, has to learn some humility, and decides to use what he's given or creates for good. Eventually, after getting over being like, oh, like I see, he takes a lot longer to overcome it than Stark. Stark kind of just comes back and is like, we're doing better stuff. Strange spends half the movie learning magic just to help himself.
Yeah.
And the other thing that people criticize, even though I've explained it to them using, I don't know if it's their intent, but using logic from the movie, is that he trains way too fast. Some people will say. Yeah. They're like, it's like half a year and he's all trained. And I'm like, but he's been astral projecting.
Exactly.
And he's been reading books and books and books every night.
Double doing it.
Once he commits. Yeah.
Yep.
Because the time slows down so much, you can finish an entire bookshelf in a night.
Yes. Absolutely.
But those are the 2 things that bother most people. I love it. It's great. I saw it in 3D like 6 times because I was like,
I have heard that it is the best movie to see in 3D.
The best Marvel movie in 3D by far.
I've got a 3D television sitting in my bedroom. I haven't watched it that way yet. I'm not a big 3D guy, but you're like the 5th person to tell me that, so maybe I should listen.
Like the Inception, because even like you still notice the levels of stuff watching it in 2D, but like when she does the spell, or like, it comes out like 5 levels, and that looks so cool in 3D. It's not like just a flat, oval. It's like...
I will say this is the last bit of stuff on Doc Strange. Originally, Marvel had told us that they were going to explain magic as using multi-dimensions and drawing energy, and there was going to be science. And there was a backlash on the internet. I can vaguely remember, and this is back in 2012, 2013, even LRM had an article about why that was a bad idea. Why not just call it magic? Why not cast spells and do magic? And I am so thankful that it is. It's magic. They're casting spells. They are doing magic in Doctor Strange.
But they do say it does draw energy from other dimensions.
It does, but they're casting spells. They didn't explain it with any other science.
Like Thor. Thor was like, well, science and magic are almost the same thing.
Right. The Ancient One is like, we're drawing energy in order to cast spells. I'm okay with that. Instead of saying, oh, it's energy transformation with rolling these molecules into this, and there's a science, almost like a Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist talks about using science to transmutate objects from one form to another. But this is spells. He's drawing weapons and items and using books and objects, and I love it. Doc Strange, number 3 for me. Nick, number 2.
One last thing about Doc Strange. I just watched Spider-Man 2.1 yesterday. Do you remember his reference on that?
No.
They're trying to name Doc Ock, and he's like, Dr. Octopus. He's like, that's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, Doctor Strange.
Yep. He's like, Doctor Strange. And he's like, that one's taken.
I remember that.
And you're like, I was rewatching it, and I was like, what? They hint at Doctor Strange?
That was kind of weird. Now that you mention it, yeah, I do remember
that universe otherwise. But anyway, my number 2, right? My turn? You're being generous host again?
Yes, generous host. Absolutely no ego. No ego. I'm completely humble. I'm the most bland, humble person on earth. Nick, go ahead with your number 2.
Certainly bland. I'm gonna go with he trained in the mountains with Liam Neeson. His parents were murdered in an alley by Joe Chill.
Children, cover your ears.
It's Batman Begins.
Batman.
Which, unlike you, I saw, I didn't see it at the movie theater. Okay. Because Batman and Robin is one of the worst movies I'd seen in my life at that point.
Which me and you covered not too long ago, right? Hold on. I put Spider-Man here, so I'll put Batman right here.
Again, we were talking before we started, and one of the reasons you don't like it as much is because you put off seeing it because you're contrary to your friends, and you're like, I can't trust what my friends say. I'm that way a lot. Well, that's why I hate Garden State.
Hey, Garden State is good.
No, it's boring.
Let me explain this, okay? I am not one of those people that responds to DC characters. I'm not one of those haters where it's like, fuck DC. DC's garbage. I get why people like them. It's not my cup of tea. It's not my bad baby, right? To quote Austin Powers. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not a hater towards never, DC is all garbage. No. Well, I'm willing to see stuff. I actually am one of those people that likes the Constantine movie. It's not a Hellblazer movie, but I like what it is.
And I thought about using that one, but it's been way too long, and I'm not sure how much of an origin film it is. I don't think it is at all.
Maybe.
And it's also very wrong. It's a good movie, but it's not. It's not Constantine. It's a good movie, but it's not Hellblazer.
It's not Hellblazer, but I enjoy it. I liked the Keaton Batman, both Batman and Batman Returns, and there are some DC things that I can appreciate, but it's not my cup of tea. Anyways, getting to the story that you're telling. Every one of my friends was bugging me. You watch Batman Begins. Watch Batman Begins, Kyle. And I was like, look, I'll eventually get to it. It got to the point to where they were so adamant about me watching this movie. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not watching it. You guys can go screw yourselves. I'll never watch it, just on principle. I'm not afraid to admit it. This year was the first time I ever saw any of the Dark Knight trilogy movies, and Batman Begins. It is what it is. Go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry to tell that long ass story.
Just wanted what was best for you, man.
But they were so asshole-ish about it. Brian,
I'm that way to friends where I'm like, you haven't seen
Jake,
this yet?
and Ian. Oh my God, those 5.
I mean, you'll catch on even more someday. But I'm that way with Mission Impossible to a lot of people. I'm like, what? You really haven't seen a Mission Impossible film since? Let's not get on a sidetrack. I'll keep talking. But Batman Begins. All right.
Batman Begins.
I saw it. I didn't see it at theaters. At that point, my least favorite character, because I had seen Batman and Robin, and I'm like, Batman's stupid. He has no superpowers. Screw that character.
And plus, he keeps 16-year-old boys locked up in tights in a cave.
Well, that's something we won't talk about. 2018, we have to change that. No, but good. It was God, sorry, cut.
Did I mess you up there?
No, yeah, a little bit. It was hilarious. And then I guess
he does. He keeps 3 16-year-old boys in tights in a cave.
Oh, I thought you said in a cage. And I was
no,
like,
I said cave.
I know that's not accurate, but you're giving me new images. Okay. I'm gonna action or uncut or whatever.
Go ahead.
It's. I mean, yeah, I saw it. So I saw it on airplanes. The only reason I ever saw it. I mean, I'm sure I would have been talked into it eventually, but I felt the same way. Where I'm like, you can't talk me into watching another Batman movie after Batman and Robin. How dare you, sir? And like again, like he has no superpower. And then it was on an airplane. My friend felt so strongly like I did that he didn't even watch it. He played my regular DS. What era was this? This is ages ago. And then I watched it on a little tiny thing on the back of someone's chair. I loved it. I was there for like the prologue footage of the Dark Knight when you had to win my friend won the little scavenger hunt thing, but he invited me to go along because like that movie changed. If Spider-Man was the one that awakened the era, I feel like Batman Begins changed everything. It was the first superhero movie I'd seen that like had a clear theme of fear. It's in your face, but there's a clear theme in that movie, and it's fear. And there's like all these motifs. Maybe it's more of a motif than a theme, but like there's all these motifs and stuff running through it. And I always say Spider-Man 2 is written like one of the first films written like a real film, not a superhero film. But Batman really is like written like this is like not Oscar quality, but this is like this is written like it's adult material. It's not even for like teens or something. This is complex. The characters are fantastic. There are deep themes of like tragedy and stuff, the way you've never felt even in other versions of Batman, and like regret, and it's just so, and like responsibility versus, I don't know, it explores his origin in the best way it's ever been done on film. It's just spectacular, and it all ties together. And Cillian Murphy is one of the greatest villains also as an actor, even though he doesn't get to do a lot except for put on his burlap sack, which is, again, this is the most realistic superhero franchise you can get. Even the DCU is kind of jumping back into like, let's make it silly again. There's a Killer Croc guy, and Batman's cape does impossible stuff. This one's like, he can't even move his head still because he's wearing the cowl. Yeah. They fix that in the next one. And like Scarecrow's the guy with the bag. Yeah. So you want to turn your head. Scarecrow just has everything's fully practical. He only has a mask to scare the shit out of people. It's not like, do you want to see my superhero mask? It's like, do you want to see my mask? It's and even like, yeah, Ra's al Ghul is just, I mean, it's so realistic except for the plot. But even like, they even explain the fear toxin in such a realistic way. It's a flower. And then rather than like, when you got time to get to Rises, they're not even playing with Lazarus Pits or like Venom or anything. It's just Bane's a big dude.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But
look, I can completely appreciate everything that Batman Begins did. I really can. It's because I saw it in 2018.
There's better stuff now.
It doesn't hold up. Like, looking at it, it's aged. You can tell it's aged. Oh, yeah. Can you tell today?
I think it ages better than, I think it ages better than the Spider-Man movies, and I like them.
Except for the montage part? Maybe? I don't know.
The montage where he's like, he gets like the gloves there too long, and like he like, I don't.
It's got its flaws, but I completely agree with you that it did something for the current genre, which is amazing because DC completely just threw it out the window and went with, I don't know what they went with, but it wasn't anything that they had set up with that. Sort of. They said, hey, The Dark Knight was really, really good and really, really popular, so do that with Superman. And
they missed it.
Exactly that. And DC, Warner Brothers, and look, again, not a DC fan, but not a DC hater. Same. I really hope Aquaman is good, and I really hope that Shazam is good. I actually really enjoyed the Shazam trailer, but I've watched a lot of DC since I got on here at LRMonline.com, and I feel for you guys. Warner Brothers is trying to make Warner Brothers movies, not superhero movies. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of interesting that the Dark Knight trilogy kind of meshed it's like that perfect storm of Warner Brothers meeting with comic book, but that's one character in an isolated universe, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I appreciate what Batman Begins meant. I don't think it ages as well, but I can completely agree with you why it's on your list.
Cool. And I guess the one last thing I would say about it is, why do we fall, Master Bruce? So we can learn to pick ourselves back up.
Pick back up. That sounds really familiar. There might be a captain of marvelous things that might be picking his or her self up repeatedly. Maybe even in a trailer where
Captain
he
Marvel
or she falls quite a bit, and then he or she lifts herself up quite often. Now, look, I'm excited about Captain Marvel. I'm not going to lie. The trailer, to me, was a bit underwhelming compared to other Marvel trailers, but I am stoked for her movie and her abilities.
How well do you know the comics? Well at all?
I know that...
Does her cat talk like Rocket? Because the cat's on the poster. I have the poster. Is the cat on it?
The cat is on the poster.
But does he talk? Is he like a Rockety character?
Look, I haven't read Miss Marvel / Captain Marvel since... Secret Invasion.
Because I'm wondering if that's like a Rocket type character they're saving for the second trailer, where it's
I'm
like,
not
look,
sure.
it's wacky too, and you're like...
I know that the comic book is retconning her origin to be maybe more similar to the movies, so we'll see. But hey, go for it, Captain Marvel. Fucking rock our world.
I love that
go
trailer.
For it.
She punches an old woman in the face, and people who don't know anything about Skrulls are like, what?
Dude,
Why is
yes!
this in here?
Which
is everyone except for
yeah.
comic fans is like, what?
Fuck old lady Skrulls. Wait, what? So, getting into number 2. I don't know why I curse so much. You know, our editor-in-chief, he curses on the podcast, so I'm just like, screw it. I can curse on my videos. Either way, whatever. My number 2 is, look, I struggled with this, and I'm biased. I'm biased because there's a comic book writer that was involved with this movie, and I adore this writer. I really do. So my number 2 is Thor. Yes. And yes, Michael Straczynski is a big part of that. JMS, if I may call you JMS, sir, he is responsible for some of the best comic book arcs out there. One of my favorite, which is a Spider-Man arc called Back in Black. Did you ever read that?
I read Deadpool Back in Black
Shut
recently.
Up, Nick. Shut up, Nick. This is what you do. After this video, we hang up our internet connection and you go on Amazon.com and you get Back in Black. It involves the Amazing Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man books. It is amazing. It is... I'm not kidding you. It's one of the best comic book arcs since, like, Kraven's Last Hunt. Dude, it's amazing.
If I could own every comic book, I would.
No,
the thing is, I still have to buy lights for this show before I can buy that. You're telling me to budget, and then you're like, go ahead and buy a comic book. Go punch somebody that's reading it down the street. No, I don't. I'm not gonna be able to find that.
I'm not saying violence. No, but
just steal it from Barnes and Noble, right?
No, don't commit any crimes. Look, JMS is one of my favorite writers. He was involved with stuff like Babylon 5, Ghostbusters, the animated series. Believe it or not, Murder, She Wrote. And JMS kind of rebooted Thor a little bit before the Thor movie came out. Michael Straczynski is one of those guys that is just amazing to me. He's done a lot of great things, and he was involved in the Thor movie, involved with writing, and he was even in it. He was one of the farmers trying to lift up the hammer. Yeah, absolutely. You'll recognize him if you look at him. He pops up in, I think it's a white truck, and he goes and he tries to lift up on the hammer, and he can't lift it, of course, because only Thor can lift it.
I think Stan Lee's driving that truck.
Isn't
his scene in that one where he's trying to hit the gas and it like...
I think so, but I think that's a different part. Originally,
JMS... there are different times they cut to it. Yeah,
exactly. So JMS is one of the first people to show up to it. And it is a very similar story in that movie to his run on kind of rebooting Thor. And look, it is not a perfect movie by any means necessary. Loki is amazing. Thor has bleached eyebrows, which is terrible, but They do throw back to his helmet, which is kind of cool, you know? But it is a very enjoyable film. You have the Warriors 3, you have Thor, you have Loki, and even though Thor and Natalie Portman's character, help me out, Nick.
Jane Foster.
Jane Foster, thank you. Every now and then we get brain farts. I'm so magnificently aware of the world that I occasionally forget some of the minute details. But yeah, Jane Foster, Jane Foster and Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth don't have great chemistry. They don't. It's okay. But it is a very enjoyable movie. I absolutely love every moment that Loki and Thor are on screen together.
They have better chemistry.
Absolutely. And I do appreciate everything that J. Michael Straczynski brought to the table for that movie. And I'll tell you an interesting story. I was at San Diego Comic-Con in 2008 or 9. I want to say 8. And J. Michael Straczynski was doing kind of sort of like a creative writing class in a panel. And he was like, look, if you're here to learn how to make money, if you're going to ask questions about selling your ideas, get out of here. Get out of here right now. And he waited a couple seconds. And it was a cool class. It was a very interesting panel. It was one of my most greatest memories of San Diego Comic-Con ever. I've been to 2 of them. And we get to this guy, and he, no joke, we're like 30, 45 minutes into the panel, and he's like, how do I make money off of my writings? And Straczynski's like, get out. Go. Get out. I told you. This is not what this is for. And I loved it. I loved it because he was upfront about what the panel was about. It's not about you selling your ideas. It's about writing. And that kind of goes to Thor. Thor had a very confined idea of what it was supposed to tell. It told that story and nothing else. And I appreciated that. Yes, Coulson was part of it for connective tissue. But if you really think about it, the first Thor movie is one of the most isolated movies out there, right?
I didn't write that in my column. Breaking Geek, I did just last week. That rhymes. But you're right. It's not as much as a setup movie as I give it crap for. It's a great fish out of water film. Like, what works in that movie is the comedy and Loki. I think Jane Foster and Darcy, played by the girl from
Kat Dennings,
are the worst 2 characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like,
Kat Dennings is better than Jane Foster, though.
Yeah, but she's so annoying. Like, the second movie, she has her own intern and stuff. It's just, I don't know. And, like, I was also going to add, I don't mean to bash on actresses too much when I'm about to, but has Natalie Portman ever had a chemistry with anyone? I guess you like Garden State. You like Garden State. So I'm sorry. I was thinking like Star Wars, Thor.
I do like Garden State. I don't know. I'd have to ask my spouse. She's seen some romantic comedies with Natalie Portman, maybe. But I do get what you're saying. I do. I understand it. Her and Hayden Christensen didn't really have great chemistry.
Fault, probably. It's not like he has chemistry with either.
Yeah, not necessarily her fault, but yeah, she doesn't really have chemistry with him. Garden State. Why don't you like Garden State? Look, Zach Braff is
not funny in that movie.
Dr. John Dorian, damn it. I love Scrubs.
I like Scrubs too. I like my Braff funny. I like funny Braff. Anyway.
I like Garden State. Anyways, continue. Go ahead. Give me your feedback on Thor.
Just gonna finish up. Thor is my 3rd least favorite of the MCU films. But all the MCU films are great except for Thor 2 and Incredible Hulk. So it's still great. It's just...
And like I said, I am biased. It's JMS, and I really appreciated his kind of reboot, his retconning of Thor, which is very similar to that movie. So maybe that's why it informs me much.
If they kept his actual Earth 616 or whatever origin, it would be like, what? Yeah. John Blake passed the little cameo.
Minus some of the negatives about it, do you think it's at least a fun movie?
Oh, absolutely. Even Thor 2 and maybe Incredible Hulk are fun.
Look, the best thing about the Incredible Hulk is Norton.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like Norton. I love Ed Norton. I
couldn't-
love Fight Club and American History. I love Ed Norton, so whatever.
Me too. Fight Club's one of my favorites, but he's not the same Ed Norton. No, at number one.
Number one, Nick, go ahead, because I am, once again, such a gracious host here on LRM Ranks It.
Thanks,
that
buddy.
I let my guests go ahead with the first pick go.
That's why you're the best in the biz, man, and I'm always happy to be here. You know, like, it's great to be famous. Unbreakable!
Wow, number one. I was waiting on it. I didn't
Number
realize we're at your number
one.
one. Going, yay!
It's such a good movie, and it's like...
It is!
It is more of like, this is an exaggeration. But it is like, as you were talking about, sometimes you like a Deadpool, sometimes you like a serious movie. This is like the Schindler's List. More so than Infinity War it's so serious, dry, and slow.
Is it your favorite Shyamalan film?
Absolutely. Nothing else is even close. Honestly, I've never seen The Sixth Sense because I know the ending, and I'm refusing to watch it because I know the ending.
What? Dude, seriously, treat yourself and actually watch it. Even though you know the ending, the cinematography, the story, the acting, and I'm a big Bruce Willis fan. I put Bruce Willis, me and you've had this discussion offline. Like, I'm a huge Tom Hanks fan. Bruce Willis is a real close top 5 for me to Tom Hanks. So yeah, definitely go watch The Sixth Sense.
I will.
Dude, it's great.
I'll treat myself this Halloween.
You should treat
But
yourself.
like this movie, Unbreakable, oh my goodness. Like Sam Jackson's greatest role. Like the whole all of it. Like because the movie is plotting along. You know, obviously we're gonna spoil the hell out of this movie. So if you haven't seen Unbreakable now, like, go to hell. Like
turn it off now.
You should at least watched it the second after you saw Split if you're a young person. But like it's
absolutely
plotted so slow. I think it's his scariest film. It's not even a horror movie. I think it's Shyamalan's scariest film because just every scene there's like a level of tension, whether it's him lifting weights that might kill him or like his son with it's just the way it's like shot, like it's way less colorful than the Glass trailer. And I love the Glass trailer, but it's even more. Yeah, I guess this is superheroes taken even one step more seriously than Christopher Nolan. This is like he has minimal powers, but they are freakish. Like they didn't really explain Mr. Glass's power was his brain in the first movie, even though he was smart. But the Glass trailer teases that like that's his superpower. Other than being, he always said he was Bruce Willis's opposite. What does that mean? Bruce Willis is a dumbass and strong? No, okay. But it's a powerful movie from the greatest M. Shyamalan twist of all time.
Say that name again.
Oh, I was saying it wrong intentionally, but M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, okay.
M. Night Shyamalanian twist.
What's a twist?
Yeah, it's just like the moment where it's like, oh yeah, he touches him, and then he sees that Elijah's the one who did all the terrible acts, including causing the train to crash, and it's so powerful. And one of my favorite scenes of all time is I couldn't even find it on YouTube last night. I was looking for it on YouTube last night. Is the first comic book scene at his shop where the guy walks in and he's like, well, how old is your son? Because he's buying his son a gift and he's like 4. He's like, does this look like a toy store, sir? Is there a fat Asian child outside licking a lollipop? It's just, best, great origin for Bruce Willis's character too. Really creepy movie, but especially good for Samuel L. Jackson. Like, it may be his best movie. And he's in a lot of Marvel films.
Yes, he is. He is a great Nick. Oh my god.
Actor?
Nick. Oh my god. Cut. Nick what?
You were saying
Nicholas. What is his character in fucking Marvel?
Oh, Nick Cage. No.
Not Nick Cage.
Fury. No, Nick
Fury. Thank you, God. Shit.
I thought you were talking to me when you said Nick. That's why I was confused. Nick Fury.
Brett, are you ready?
Set.
He is an absolute great Nick Fury. Sam Jackson is one of those characters, one of those actors. Just no matter what he's in, no matter how good the movie, Sam Jackson is great. Look, One of my it's currently while we're filming, it's Halloween time, and one of my favorite movies is 1408. And whether you're watching 1408 because it's Halloween time and time for spookiness, or because you enjoy good horror movies, 1408 is a great movie, and I love Samuel L. Jackson in that movie. I love Pulp Fiction, and look, I love everything Sam Jackson's been in. A Time to Kill is one of the most intense movies ever made. I love Sam Jackson in A Time to Kill. Him in Unbreakable as Glass is as important to why the movie's on my list as it is on your list, regardless of the origin part, correct?
Yeah, I mean, just watching him, like, this chase scene where he's trying to chase someone, but he's obviously going to fall down the stairs, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
Shit. No.
It's amazing. And for me, it's more of Glass's mentality. It's more of Elijah's mentality on why he's doing what he's doing. He's such a true believer in
That's a perfect way to put it,
comic. Yes, he's such a Excelsior true believers.
But like, yeah, you're so right. Because even the plot in Glass, the trailer is like he wants to prove that they exist.
Yes, and I love it.
Prove that he's right, and what he's reading is worth it.
Follow that. Yes, absolutely. I love that. But that doesn't take away from David. It doesn't. It does not take away from Bruce Willis's character. Bruce Willis's character he's sort of Spider-Man with great responsibility, great power comes great responsibility. He's the reluctant hero. He's like, look, I've got these abilities. I have to do this. And you see that at the end of Split. Split was such, and I'll tell you this, I saw Split and I didn't know anything about the connection.
I knew it tied in somehow.
Nope, I didn't. I knew nothing. I saw Split, and at that end, when you see Bruce Willis there, I was like, pew, gone. It was amazing. And then that first Glass trailer, oh my God, dude. Nick, as in Nick Doll, I completely understand why this movie is in both of our lists. Like I said, you planted the seed in my brain, buddy. You really did. I was thinking to myself, I need something else to break up the MCU. What else? And look, and I'm not saying I put this in my list back at number 4 just to break it up. Unbreakable is an amazing movie. And in and of itself, aside from superhero films, it is amazing.
And like, it's the ultimate origin film, because the origin film is the entire film. Like, he's so in denial about himself that
Absolutely.
Not until the third act is he like, well, I should go help someone. He's like, no, this doesn't happen. Superheroes don't exist. This is silly. So.
He fights it the whole way. Bruce Willis fights it the whole way. Dave is completely against the idea of being a hero up until the very end.
I love you.
Up until at least he goes into that house with the guys that are breaking in. They tied up, I think it's a mom and a daughter. And yeah, absolutely. Such a great movie. You know, my significant other had never seen that film. Actually, she saw Split before she saw Unbreakable. Yes.
Because Unbreakable was a flop at theaters, which is why there wasn't a sequel.
I take that as my fault. I've been married for almost 13 years, 13 years this March. And so is my fault she hadn't seen it. I take complete responsibility. Send all your hate to @thatKyle Malone on Twitter. But we did watch Split, and then we watched Unbreakable, and she liked it, which is great. She's an awesome lady. And I couldn't put it at number 1, but I understand why you did. So yeah.
Hell yeah.
Are we ready for my number 1?
Yeah.
We ready? Nick, take a guess. I want you to guess. What's my
Iron Man.
Oh my God, Nick, you're right.
I win all the marbles.
All the marbles. I wish I had marbles. I'd like throw marbles at my camera. I got a pretty good steady tripod. It wouldn't fall over. So maybe. Oh, can I do CGI marbles? Maybe CGI marbles.
Put on your 3D glasses now.
So look, Iron Man. Look. Oh my God. When they first announced Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, I was like, oh God, he's too old. That's my first thought. And then I thought, wait a second, hold on. he's not going to have to act. He just has to respond to a different name because in reality, Robert Downey Jr. is a lot like Tony Stark as far as personality. Exactly. Look, Iron Man is one of the most perfect hero stories ever. Up high, falls down low, climbs back up. It's amazing. He's smart. He comes back from Afghanistan, and they updated it. I do like that. They updated it for modern time. Instead of Vietnam, they put him in Afghanistan.
It works really well.
It does. It works very,
that
very well.
That scene is very intense.
It is, absolutely. And look, let's give it up to Jon Favreau, man. Jon Favreau did a great job taking everything that Raimi's Spider-Man had done and updated it. And let's face it, other than the Civil War comic books, Iron Man was B-list, right?
Even like then, like when I wasn't into like when I watched Spider-Man and the MCU even started with Iron Man, I'd never heard of Civil War. I knew who Captain America was when the MCU started, but I hated him because I thought he was a jock because I didn't know his origin. I didn't realize he was a skinny dude. I'm like, oh, so he's the football player who got like fought in World War II? I never realized that he was coming from humble beginnings. My knowledge of all these characters was limited until Marvel expanded my brain.
So I wasn't a dedicated comic book fan. Let me correct myself. I was a dedicated comic book fan, but I was not a dedicated comic book reader. But even I knew that Iron Man was kind of B-list. Yeah, he was an Avenger, but he was more famous as an Avenger than he was as Iron Man himself. So for Marvel to start off with Iron Man, to me, was insane. Like, I would have figured they would have started off with Captain America, because at least with Captain America, and you're talking about 2008, in 2008, Iraq is 5 years old, Afghanistan is 7 years old, you're at least playing off of patriotism in the United States of America.
That's why Cap was the riskiest of the phase one.
It kind of was. And I do want to say,
worldwide.
thank you to... Yes, and I do want to say thank you to all the veterans out there.
Absolutely.
We appreciate your guys' service, and that is outstanding. And I'm glad that Marvel kind of embraced Afghanistan, which is... It's bordered on a popular war because of what happened in 9/11, but unpopular because of how long it's taken. So thank you to all the veterans out there.
Absolutely.
But Iron Man embraced it. They updated his origin, and we went from there, and we got an amazing movie. The villain. Look, Ironmonger.
It is Jeff Bridges, though. It is Jeff Bridges. That's great. I always forget him because he's bald.
I was gonna say, Ironmonger himself, Jeff Bridges,
like when he's like
Jeff Bridges
paralyzing him or whatever.
Yes,
I'm gonna kill you, Tony.
Dude, even the pizza scene. No, you can't have any pizza. Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what. Have one slice. Have one slice. I love Jeff Bridges as Ironmonger, as Obadiah Stane. Iron Man. Marvel took such a risk. They said, let's throw all of the money at it, all the ponies, all the whatever cliche you want to go with, and they threw in that famous after credit scene. You think you're the only hero there is? I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. And the oh yes, it was like,
or even when he says when Coulson says what the SHIELD acronym for the first time after like saying strategic homeland, like I'm like, oh, there's a bigger world out there.
Yes, it was great. And look, it is not a perfect movie by any means necessary. I think it ages better than Batman Begins and better than Spider-Man, but it definitely feels dated. But it is such an important movie because over the last 10 years, the MCU has given us such an amazing journey. I don't know about you guys, but while I'm excited about Captain Marvel and Spider-Man Far From Home, I'm looking for that middle movie, Avengers 4.
That's the one.
For the love of God, Marvel, tell us the damn title.
Avengers defeated again.
Iron Man is the genesis of all modern superhero movie examples. I don't know how else to explain it. He Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr., bravo, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything you've done. Nick?
Yeah, like I said, that was almost my number 3. It was interchangeable with Spider-Man, basically, for me. In the end, I went with Spider-Man because of Defoe. But Iron Man's fantastic. I forgot the power. It's one of the ones I haven't seen in a long time. I forgot the power of the first act. And the scene where he's taking the pictures with the troops, and he's like, no gang signs, no gang signs. Just kidding, exactly. You can post that on Twitter or Instagram. And then, boom! And then that whole shocking scene. And not only that, it becomes almost... It's not appropriate for kids at a certain point, because then it becomes the whole, especially in that time, even more than now, the whole, like, setup of we have one of your people on camera. Maybe we'll chop off his head. And it's done just like the news footage. And you're like, yeah, Marvel's real. I've never heard of this character, but he's suddenly real, and he's charming, and he's in danger, and I'm on the hook for at least 20 years.
Oh my God, it's been such an amazing ride. It really has. And I'll tell you what, Nick, thank you so much for sharing your top 5 superhero origin movies. Guys, tell us what you think. There's comments below here. There's comments both on the YouTube channel and the website. Share them. What is your top 5 superhero origin films? What do you think about our list? Is Nick completely wrong? I mean, Nick is usually completely wrong, but Nick might be completely wrong and Kyle is completely right.
I'm used to it.
Tell us what you think about our list. Tell us your list. We are Nick, are we not spoiled by the riches of amazing comic book movies these days?
Yes, we are. I used to say when Avengers came out that if I was 12 when these were happening, I'd be even more blown away. And then I realized I've been saying that since like 2010, let's say even. So like I would now be 20 anyway. It's such a long length and so much good. Like I can't believe we're approaching the 22nd movie, which will be the end of book 1.
I'm not even
story.
I'm not even going to mention where I was in 2010. Some of you guys there at LRM might know. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in to LRM Ranks, the top 5 superhero origin films with me and Nick Doll. Nick, where can they find you at, and what do you do on LRMonline.com?
You can find me at LRM_Nick on Twitter. I believe I'm at Breaking Geek on Instagram. There might be an underscore there. And then I write Breaking Geek for LRMonline.com. I just talk about whatever the hell I want to talk about. Sometimes Kyle's a guest and we have a little discussion and we argue with each other and hate each other. But it's great, you know? So come on down to Breaking Geek 2 to 4 times a week.
And you guys can find me at that Kyle Malone on Twitter. And I write The Cantina, a Star Wars weekly piece on LRMonline.com. As well as try to dabble in the news articles. And thank you guys so much for joining us today. Make sure you hit the like, the share. If you're on the website, share this stuff on all of your social media. Make sure you hit the bell. I don't remember which corner it's at, but hit the bell on YouTube.
Below.
So that way, yes, below, somewhere below. So that way you can be notified as soon as the next LRM Ranks video goes up. Thank you guys so much. Join us next time. Have a great day. Hey everybody, did you like what you just watched? Do you want to see more? Check out the other great videos available here on the LRM Online YouTube channel. Also, go check out our website, lrmonline.com, to see all the great stories that we publish every day.